My name is Ethan, and I've been teaching history at Oakridge High School in Texas for over a decade. It's a quiet, unassuming place located on the outskirts of a small town. The school has always had its share of ghost stories, but I never put much stock in them. That is, until I experienced something that shook me to my core. It all began in the fall of 2019. The school year had just started, and I was busy preparing for my classes. One evening, I decided to stay late to catch up on grading. The hallways were eerily quiet, the usual hustle and bustle replaced by an almost oppressive silence. The only sound was the occasional creak of the old building settling. I was deep in thought when I heard it, a faint whisper, almost too soft to be heard. At first, I dismissed it as my imagination, but then it came again, louder this time. I stood up and looked around, but the hallway was empty. Shaking off the feeling of unease, I returned to my work. As the weeks went by, the strange occurrences became more frequent. Doors would slam shut on their own, lights would flicker, and I would often hear footsteps echoing through the hallways when I was sure I was alone. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was just the building settling or the wind playing tricks on me. One night I stayed even later than usual, determined to finish grading a particularly large stack of essays. It was well past midnight when I heard the whisper again, closer this time. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The temperature in the room seemed to drop and a chill ran down my spine. I stood up and slowly walked toward the door, the whisper growing louder with each step. As I reached the hallway, I saw a shadowy figure at the far end, just barely visible in the dim light. My breath caught in my throat. As the figure began to move toward me, its footsteps echoing ominously. Paralyzed with fear, I watched as the figure drew closer. It was then that I saw its eyes, burning with a malevolent red glow. The figure raised a hand, and I felt an invisible force grip my throat, choking me. I struggled to breathe, my vision darkening at the edges. Just as I thought I was about to pass out, the grip released, and the figure vanished. Gasping for breath, I stumbled back into my classroom and locked the door. I spent the rest of the night huddled in my chair, too terrified to move. The next day, I tried to convince myself it had been a nightmare, but the bruises on my neck told a different story. I confided in a colleague, Sarah, who had also experienced strange occurrences in the school. Together, we decided to investigate. We started by researching the school's history, digging through old records and newspaper archives. It was then that we discovered the dark secret of Oakridge High. The school had been built on the site of an old church, which had burned down under mysterious circumstances in the late 1800s. The pastor of the church had been accused of practicing dark rituals and summoning a demon. Legend had it that the pastor had made a pact with the demon, offering the souls of the church's congregation in exchange for power. When the townsfolk discovered the truth, they set fire to the church, hoping to cleanse the evil. But the demon had survived, bound to the land where the church once stood. Armed with this knowledge, Sarah and I sought the help of Father Gabriel, a local priest known for his expertise in exorcisms. He agreed to come to the school and perform a cleansing ritual. We planned it for a weekend, when the school would be empty. The night of the ritual, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Father Gabriel prepared his tools, holy water, crucifixes, and a Bible, while Sarah and I stood by, our nerves on edge. As the priest began to recite the prayers, the temperature in the room plummeted, and an oppressive darkness seemed to envelop us. The demon made its presence known almost immediately. Doors slammed shut, windows rattled, and the lights flickered violently. The air was filled with a cacophony of whispers and growls, growing louder and more menacing with each passing moment. Father Gabriel continued the ritual, his voice unwavering despite the chaos around him. The demon's attacks intensified, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. I looked at Sarah, her face pale with fear, but she nodded, urging me to stay strong. Then the demon appeared. It materialized in the center of the room, a towering figure shrouded in darkness. Its eyes burned with an unholy fire, and its twisted, grotesque form seemed to writhe and shift as if made of shadows. Father Gabriel held up a crucifix, shouting the words of the exorcism with renewed fervor. The demon let out a deafening roar, and I felt a wave of malevolent energy wash over me. I fell to my knees, my strength sapped by the demon's presence. Just when it seemed the demon might overwhelm us, Father Gabriel threw a vial of holy water at the creature. The water sizzled and steamed as it made contact, and the demon shrieked in pain. Its form began to dissolve, the shadows dissipating like smoke. With one final, earth-shaking roar, the demon vanished. The room fell silent, and the oppressive darkness lifted. Father Gabriel collapsed to the floor, exhausted but triumphant. Sarah and I rushed to his side, helping him to his feet. The school felt different after that night, lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted. The strange occurrences ceased, and the atmosphere was no longer filled with dread, but the experience left a lasting mark on all of us. I continued teaching at Oakridge High, but I could never forget the terror I'd faced. The memory of the demon's eyes haunted my dreams, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks just beneath the surface of our world. Sarah and I remained close, bonded by our shared ordeal. We often spoke of that night, trying to make sense of the unimaginable. Father Gabriel, too, became a frequent visitor, his wisdom and strength a source of comfort. In the end, we had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. But the scars remained, a testament to the horrors we had witnessed. The demon of Oakridge High had been vanquished, but its legacy would live on in our hearts and minds forever.